dearly shipmates. You have just set sail aboard the proud Columbia, an exact replica of the first American vessel to completely circle the globe. Forward amidships is the hatchway leading below decks, where you may see hot sailors.
Welcome to the 3028, a show about theme park history and pop culture listery. I am Matt Parrish.
And I am Kevin Quigley.
Kevin, we are almost to the conclusion here of our season 8, the Ocho of the 3028, and we're excited. This is a really fun show for us.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, we have these big ideas. Like last year, season 7 was all Animal Kingdom and Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah, the whole season.
The whole season. That's really all we did. And then this season, we've got our World's Fair show, and then our surprise second series about the Big Five, the Fab Five.
Oh yes.
And guys, you have no idea how hard it is to write a show about Pluto. Anyway,
yeah, the Pluto show is going slow.
It's going real slow. We finally think we cracked it, but we'll get there.
It's not because of Pluto.
No, it's not Pluto's fault at all. It's never Pluto's fault. He's so amazing and adorable. He's just hard to write about. But Matt, before we get to our Pluto show and the rest of our World's Fair shows, we've got a SHIPstory to talk about.
Yeah, we got a SHIPstory. This is Better on a Ship, Kevin. We have never done a Better on a Boat show about Disney ships, and I'm excited for this because I love Disney watercraft. It's probably like 95% of why I go to Disney. The other 5% is the Skyliner, and so I am so excited to talk about this show. I don't care where the ships are. I don't even care if they're moving. I'm in love with all of them.
The thing to remember right now is that there's a very big difference between a boat and a ship. And we'll clarify that as we go on. But before we get started, Matt, we need to talk about our sponsors. Big Oil, of course, big tech, big pharma. No, wait a minute, Matt. It's our listeners, Yes,
it would make sense for a show about listery to have a sponsor that involves the listener. So thank you so much for sponsoring the show, for donating to the show. Venmo, PayPal in the show notes. The buttons are in there. It's really just a link to our Venmo and our PayPal. You can also leave a glorious 5-star review. I like it when people call it glorious in the 5-star review.
It's my favorite thing. It's so good.
I'm like, that really, it means more than 5 stars. It's like Spinal Tap. It's like going to 11 when you call it glorious.
It goes up to 6 for us.
Yes.
It's great. And then also, I just wanted to drop a note about Kevin Quigley Design. I am running a special right now, 10% off through the end of February. So if you want some great graphic design, please let me know. You can reach out to me at kevinquigleydesign@gmail.com or kevinquigleydesign.com to take a look at my portfolio.
Hey, Kevin, before we talk ships this week and we get out on the water, we need to tell people about our exciting new venture.
Oh, yeah. We've got a new entertainment venture just for you. We've got our Patreon now. Hooray!
Yes, links in the show notes. You can find it there. This allows you to become more involved with our show. Also allows you to get secret shows, exclusive shows. There's a way that you can actually get our regular episodes a week early. You can have access to our Discord. A lot of really cool stuff that's happening. So check out our Patreon. Like Matt said, link in the show notes. It's really, really cool. You also get a link to our Discord where we are engaging with 3028 and Disney fans right now. It's very positive. Everybody's having a great time. Kevin gets to be a minor celebrity, which is great.
As does Matt. The Discord, our chat name is Tune In Lounge.
Oh, yes.
It's so great. We're just hanging out in the Tune In Lounge all together. It's so much fun.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, you can even start your own little chats within the group and all that stuff. So check it out. It's all there for you in the show notes. Our Patreon, 3020eight. It's the place where we're going to release shows just for you. So if you love our shows and you want to help support it and you want access to early shows and all the different stuff, please check it out. You can be a Fruit Brute, a Sad Tomato Kid, or even a Listorian.
Oh, yeah. So, just to assure you, the regular show isn't going to change, but joining the Patreon is going to add a lot more to your 3020eight experience. So check that out now and become one of our Patreons. But Matt, we have a lot of sailing to get to. So without any further ado, let's sail in. Takes me away
to where I we can only sample one line of the song.
We can't do the whole song, or else we'll get sued by Christopher Cross.
Oh my God, he would never do that. I've met him, Kevin. He would never sue us.
He's the nicest guy in the world.
He's gentle, very gentle.
In the past, we've talked about Disney watercraft and the myriad rides and attractions that are better on a boat. But one thing we've hammered home in our histories and listeries is that placemaking and 3D realities are Disney Parks' signature, and ships and boats don't need to be functional to be fantastic. So on tonight's episode of the 3028, we're going to take a look at the ships at Disney that don't have to go anywhere to take us places.
Oh my God, I love how you describe that. It's so true. It's so true. Forgive my voice on this show. It's a little raspy, but it's because I've been sailing all night, Kevin, and I just got back to the show. So no, I love this setup. We've never done a ship show. I mentioned in the intro. It's right in our wheelhouse. Yes, puns, Disney puns. And we love Disney watercraft, but I can really appreciate the sort of grandiose nature of Disney ships and how they kind of set the theme for the park guest. And as you mentioned, these ships don't always even have to move. Sometimes they can just be place setting.
Yeah, and I kind of love the idea of because when I was younger, I think when a lot of our listeners were younger, we saw the Goonies for the first time, and the idea of seeing the pirate ship off in the distance was such kind of like a magic thing. Same thing with Peter Pan when you saw the pirate ships flying in the air. It was always magical and a little mystical, and the concept of adventure and happiness and that sort of thing. It brings us to a different time. And so Disney is really an expert at all this. And so we wanted to kick off our list at number 12 with Peter's ship in the Festival of Fantasy Parade. Matt, it's on top of a rainbow.
I know. I didn't even think about this one. This one's so good. I love the fact that Walt Disney World parades are huge. They're just big. This also has a skull rock on the front of the float, which is, very Disneyland-y, very Disneyland Paris, old-timey Disney. And I just love the idea that we get the blessing of size with this particular ship. It's not one that you can reach out and touch. In fact, it's like a story tall off the ground, so you see it in the air like it's flying.
Oh, yes. It's flying over this sort of rainbow area. Underneath, there's a counterpointing anchor that's going back. And I'm making a gesture with my hands, you guys can all see it. But it's going back and forth. So it looks it's flying over the rainbow. And there's people on it. That's the thing about this is that when I was remembering this, for some reason I didn't remember it as being a very large thing. I thought it was kind of small. No, there are people on this pirate ship. Like Wendy's up there and stuff.
Except Mr. Smee. He was not invited onto the pirate ship. He's walking behind the float like he's been cast off the island or kicked off Big Brother here. He's not involved.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was very confused because somebody in the parade looked exactly, had my whole face and everything. And then I pointed to Jeff and said, "Hey, look, it's me."
Kevin, so TikTok can also be found there, or as my wife calls him, Clocksworth.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that so much.
So what I like about it is it's kind of cartoony, so it's not taking itself too seriously, unlike some of the other ships that we'll find on this list that are much more authentic. This one feels like it flew out of an animated film.
It actually looks, if you've ridden Peter Pan's Flight, it actually feels like one of those pirate ships. Like it's a theme park ride, but you're seeing it from this side and you're seeing it from all angles. So it's almost a preview of Peter Pan's Flight. Interestingly, so you're looking at this and you're like, hey, Wendy and everybody are up there. I could be up there, and then later on you can be. So
you will be. By the way, Captain Hook is standing on the anchor that's like a support for this underneath, just menacingly looking at the crowd. You look up at the ship and everything's glorious, and then Captain Hook is looming below.
Yeah, we hear all the stuff about going over the rainbow and how beautiful it is, but what's happening under the rainbow?
Sinister things. I love Captain Hook. He's a great villain.
He's so cool. For a long time, I was like, why isn't he a face? Why can't you see his like this is an actor and you see his face like Peter Pan? No, you need to have the actual costumed face there. That's really, really cool. But Matt, let's take a look at Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland at the same time. Let's go to Toontown and go to Donald's Boat. I love this. I didn't know it had an actual name. The SS Miss Daisy.
I did not know that either. So I grew up with Donald's Boat because that existed in Mickey's Toontown Fair in the early days of Walt Disney. And not in the early days of Walt Disney World, but in the 90s of Walt Disney World into the 2000s. But I didn't even know it was called the SS Miss Daisy. I love the idea that Donald has his own home in the Toon world. And I always wondered why Donald had a boat. Kevin, it's because he's a duck.
Neither of us figured this out. We're like, oh, I get, he also has Maddie has a sailor's hat on. He's always had a sailor's hat on. We're dumb.
We are dumb. Why are we doing a Disney show? We don't even understand animals. But anyway, I love the idea of Donald's boat. What's kind of interesting here is I like the Toontown look because it goes back to like the early cartoon age, like the Disney shorts age for Disney, but then it also sort of incorporates the modern sort of three-dimensional computer plasticky look.
Yeah, I kind of love how it's funny because, yeah, you're right. It has the feel of the shorts, but also has the feel of the 90s, kind of like the slightly garish look. Toontown is a very 90s thing. But now it also has it feels also a little bit like the current new shorts, the Mickey Mouse shorts.
It does.
Yeah, it has a little bit of that feel now too. So it has it's all eras. That's why these characters are timeless because you can place them in any era and they're all eras at once.
I like that we're doing a ship story, but we covered Donald's boat. What's the difference between a ship and a boat as it relates to this show?
Oh boy.
I think it has to have a mast.
Well, the thing is, yes, exactly. And this has a figurehead at the front. Daisy is the figurehead up front, like they used to have mermaids or buxom ladies on the front of ships. Here we've got a beaksome lady.
Oh,
on the front of this ship, and it's great. And
it's good luck. It's good luck. It's like naming your ship Jenny, right? And then shrimping in the Gulf of Mexico.
I get it. I've been poised for your Jurassic Park references. I never know when a Forrest Gump one's going to show up.
It does.
Pretty basic.
I do like Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia,
French fried shrimp. So, all right. So, and I love Donald's boat. This is really, I don't know. Yeah, we're doing SHIPstory. I think we're doing the ones that generally you can't, that don't move, but some of them on this list do. Look, this is a very cultured and curated list that we spent a lot of time on and a lot of thought.
We definitely qualified why this is a ship. No, honestly, if you look at this, okay, there's versions of Donald's boat that actually look more like a boat, but this version, the Shanghai version, looks to me more like a ship.
Yeah, and also it's like surrounded by this It's a splash pad. It's like pictures of water, but it looks like it's docked, which is really cool. And so I just love the idea of like a ship that's docked. I think that's maybe the difference. And it has that masthead and all the stuff. This is great. And also, instead of like flags flying above, there's like Donald's laundry.
I love that. That's my most favorite. I was waiting for you to bring that up. I love it.
Makes me happy.
It also has a not just a mast. It also has a funnel, right? In the old days of, powering these ships, you would absolutely have to have something like that. And boats were notorious for having something like an oar, Kevin.
Right.
Yes.
Right, yeah. So funnels are like the beginning, and this is where all the steam comes out. If it's steam-powered or coal-powered, this is where the smoke comes out. So, yeah. So this
It's a ship.
It's a ship.
It's a ship, bro.
It's Donald's ship, not Donald's boat. There we go.
It's Donald's ship.
So something I found out in my research today and recently reading a Stephen King book, that the word galley, we think of it, I think in America currently, as like a kitchen or a cookery. But a galley is also the type of ship where you would have a lot of oars that come out and like people below decks would like pull them, like in Ben-Hur, those type of ships. So in Disneyland Paris, there is a ship called Captain Hook's Pirate Galley. Oh.
There's a great, by the way, Ben-Hur, that's an awesome scene with the ships battling and the oars being powered by the slaves below. But there's also, by the way, a scene like that in Gladiator 2.
There is, yes.
Yes, where they're oaring beneath the ship, which is a magnificent set of scenes. Okay, Kev, all right, so we're going to talk, because this is like a two-parter almost. Captain Hook's Pirate Galley, Disneyland Paris, and a Skull Rock. What does that sound like for like continental U.S. Disney fans?
It sounds like OG Disneyland Fantasyland.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I have behind me, next to Asimov the robot, is an actual Skull Rock. By the way, it's a Post-it note holder, but it's a Skull Rock from Disney. So they released these in like the 2000s. I have no idea why. But the version that we're referring to here is a replica of Disney's own version back in Disneyland from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And the Disneyland Paris version is not exactly the same because this one is a little more piratey and connects pirate areas of different lands.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is that, classic Disneyland had this big ship, it was before Skull Rock even happened. And so this is considered a fantasy thing in continental America. Whereas you go to Paris, and it's not planned for Fantasyland at all. They rethought the theme, and the ship is connected to Adventureland and Adventure Isle. So this is sort of like part of the pirate trifecta. There's Peter Pan's Flight, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then Captain Hook's Galley. This is amazing.
Yeah, I always thought galley was a word to help you describe a kitchen, like a narrow kitchen.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah.
Okay, I wondered. I didn't know if it was like the fact that you have to so a galley kitchen would be like a long, narrow passage with cupboards on either side.
Wait a minute. I just realized the etymology of this. It's called a galley kitchen because of the shape of this being a galley.
Yes.
Yeah. This is amazing. A galley is a type of ship optimized for propulsion by oars, but the shape of that, the very narrow shape of that, lends itself to the galley kitchen. It's kind of like saying like a what's that? Not boxcar apartment, but something like that. Railroad car apartment, where you have the shape of a railroad car, but it has nothing. The apartment itself doesn't have to do with railroad cars. It just has to do with the shape of it. So that's why galley kitchens are called that. And over the years, we've just decided to start calling it a galley. Because people don't do pirate ships by oars anymore. Yeah.
There's also what's called a shotgun house. Have you ever seen those?
Yes.
Yeah, those are in like old downtowny areas. The design is similar to railroad apartments.
That's what it is, railroad apartment.
Yeah, which is really interesting. You can see these in like New Orleans too. These really small things. So yeah, these homes, this architecture sort of takes on what informed, the look of it or the shape of it based on where it is, environmentally in the city, or in this case, in the in a boat. In a boat, Kevin.
In a boat. Yeah, we said like 5 minutes ago that boats don't have oars, or ships don't have oars. And
dang
here's
it.
one. I love that the way that language changes, where like it's associated with one thing, eventually becomes associated with a completely different thing. It makes me happy. But Matt, let's go into number 9 here. I had no idea this existed. And I should, because it's big. It's the Golden Dream ship at Epcot at the American Adventure.
How do we both not like pick up on this? This is the weirdest thing. This is like what's the thing, like Berenstain Bears versus Berenstein Bears? Like
the Mandela effect.
Yes. We've talked about this many times on the show. Like this existed forever, but we didn't know. Like this is a weird thing. I always think of ships when I'm in the Italy pavilion of Epcot, right? Because you have those narrow passages and the sort of Venice look, the Venetian look there. But you don't really think about it in the America pavilion at Epcot and World Showcase. But it makes absolute sense that you would have some kind of harbor if you're talking about like early colonial America.
So this was built and placed in World Showcase Lagoon around 1993. It's behind the American Garden Theaters. It's been there since the 90s.
How is this
early
possible?
90s.
This is so ridiculous. By the way, there's like bikes and different stuff in these areas. Like they're also tucked away. It's hard to see them sometimes.
Yeah. You can only really see this. It's in the America Pavilion, but you can only really see it very clearly if you're like in Italy and you cross that bridge and you look over.
Yeah. Somebody should take a picture of themselves standing in front of this when they listen to this show.
Yeah, so it's called the Golden Dreams. It is a facade of a 1776 sloop. It is a rum running ship. Ooh, Continental Rum Runner sailing ship. And so it was put there. It was a full ship in 1993. In August of 2004, Hurricane Charlie came in. Everything closed at Disney. I remember people were really, really mad that they weren't feeding people very well during the hurricane when everyone had to stay in the resort. But Epcot, nothing in Epcot really got damaged except for the Golden Dream. So they took it away, and it went away for a while, and then it came back in 2000, and I believe it's 2006. And it was, instead of being a full ship, it's a floating dock that they built a ship facade around. And so it's not made of ship stuff at all. It's made of aluminum, plastic, and styrofoam. No wood or steel, so there's going to be no future storm damage. It's just a dock that looks like a ship.
That is fascinating. I thought you were going to tell me that it landed on the top of a mountain peak and is now called Miss Tilly. No, Kevin, but it's interesting here because when I think of the American Pavilion, I think of Independence Hall, and I think of like Philadelphia and sort of like wood colonial style. And then a ship, to me, is more representative of where you live, like in Boston Harbor.
Yeah. And it's very interesting because you can see, I mean, we have a tall ship museum called the Constitution.
You do?
It floats, it floats on the water, and it looks a lot like this.
This is a very specific looking ship, by the way. It unlike the mast is super tall. It looks like it takes on very long and lengthy sails.
Because the thing about these ships, they're called the tall ships.
Oh, see?
For that reason. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And we're just going to work this right in. I also want to bring up the fact of the ships that are on in Tokyo Disney at the American waterfront. They look very similar to this, and it's not because we forgot to include them. It is because we just wanted to work those into this one. But there are tall ships there as well. One of them looks like the sailing ship Columbia, and they're just they're sort of placemaking behind the giant ship there. So it really is really kind of amazing that almost all Disney parks around the world have this sort of Bostonian type harbor here. And I just love that they have this one.
Yeah, this is really, really smart here. And again, I have never really noticed this. And the fact that it kind of, was there and went away probably contributes to that on some level. But I need to look around, Kevin. Look up, look down. That's supposed to be the motto of our show. I've totally missed this ship. All of these trips to Disney. I love the Boston style ships. What's interesting to me quickly is that when you look at the galley ship that we referenced before, it has these very tall sides, almost like it's trying to prevent onboarding from people that you don't want on the ship. But that's not true of these sort of Bostonian ships.
Yeah, well, Bostonian ships are crafted so you can throw tea off of them.
Yes, of course. Spill the tea, Kev.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but this is the type of ship that the Boston Tea Party actually happened on. And literally, this is we did that so we would throw tea in the harbor, to prevent, to protest British taxation. And so, to have this here, the American Adventure Hall looks very Philadelphian, and this looks very Bostonian. So if you really think about it, we have the entirety. This is like Liberty Square. We have sort of the entirety of the colonial era right here.
Yeah, I mean the Liberty Square has a crinkle wall, right? Which is like very Virginia, but then like Independence Hall itself is like very Philadelphia. So you have all these different influences from a time, much like mid-century. I mean, you could go to California and see this kind of style of architecture, but then you can also see that style from the same time period in Kansas City, Missouri. That doesn't make sense, but it makes total sense. So easy segue, Kevin, to number 8 are Bostonian-style ships. The unbuilt ships. Now, this is awesome because this is like old Disneyland never-built stuff, but people that love Disneyland know this. Liberty Street / Liberty Square, originally planned for original Disneyland to run parallel to Main Street, had an area called Griffin's Wharf, Kevin. Now, you may or may not be familiar with Griffin's Wharf because it took place in your backyard. I don't know if it's still called that, but in the 18th century, you had a very busy, kinetic area, harbor in Boston that was like the economic epicenter called Griffin's Wharf. And this was going to be one of the smaller areas within Liberty Street at Disneyland, and it would have included ships.
Yeah, it's so interesting that this Liberty Street was going to happen, and have these kind of grandiose ships for this like very small area. I don't know how they were going to do this or how they were going to build a full-on harbor here. Very fascinating that they were going to have these, but I don't actually remember Griffin's Wharf here in Boston. You'd think that I would. Could
have been renamed, maybe?
Griffin's Wharf.
Who is Mr. Griffin? Peter Griffin?
No, it is. It's Matt. This is the exact location of the Boston Tea Party. But Griffin's Wharf no longer exists. It doesn't exist anymore here. So for a while you could see the area, but now it's sort of like they sort of built up
to it.
Well, I'll tell you, Matt.
Condos? Was it condos, Kevin?
No, even worse. So there were landfill projects.
Oh my God!
That came to Boston, and they filled in the land and filled in the harbor a little bit and built business towers here. So you can go to where the actual Boston Tea Party happened and think about how wonderful it was that we gained our independence. This was a big symbol of that. And then look up at the Chipotle Tower.
This is what we wanted. Oh, yeah. Dang you. This is the country we want.
There is a
That's
Boston Tea Party
hilarious.
ship and museum near there, but the actual location has been landfilled and there's bridges and buildings. It's in the business district.
When you said landfilled, that means something totally different here. Landfilled in Missouri is a dump.
Oh, well, it sort of is a dump here. So,
they
means a few
paved
things.
Paradise and put up a parking lot, Kevin.
Hey, why not? They're gonna charge us $1.50 to look at trees.
Oh my Lord, this is amazing. Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro Shops, has this kind of thing happening here. There's like, come visit our nature. $25 a piece.
Oh boy, it's so and I love that one too. The one that's indoors and it looks beautiful in the Bass Pro Shop. Yeah, so let's segue a little bit here. I love talking about never built lands. We're gonna probably do a whole thing about never built Disneyland, maybe in season 9, everyone.
Ooh.
But Griffin's Wharf is neat. No idea how they would have built the full harbor, but sure. Where they did build a full harbor is in Tokyo Disney Sea.
Yes.
In the New York area. So the American waterfront is separated into two different areas. There is the Cape Cod area and then the New York area. And the New York area has like all these docks. There's not a whole lot of attractions here. There's the SS Columbia. There's the Tower of Terror. And that's cool, but there's all these restaurants on these docks. It kind of looks like, what was it called before it was San Francisco and DCA?
Pacific Wharf.
Yeah, so this looks a lot like the Pacific Wharf area of DCA before it changed to San Francisco. So and it looks great, but there are all these like ships, like tall ships docked in the harbor. So if you've ever seen, I can't believe Jeff's not here for this. If you've ever seen Titanic, you would have seen stuff like this.
It's an ick ship. Titanic, Olympic, Magic,
Columbia.
But this is the era of the ick ship, right? It's the early 20th century, like 1900 to 1920. A lot of these ships sank, by the way. But the Disney Magic is based on these ships, and you've got one in this New York harbor.
So New York Harbor is very interesting because you're seeing the dichotomy of like one era ending and one era beginning. So the Columbia, which is funny because we have the sailing ship Columbia at Disneyland, and it's a tall ship. But here you have the SS Columbia, where you can go into the Roosevelt Lounge. There's a
That's where that is. Oh, that's so cool.
And then you see all these tall ships that are like, sort of juxtaposing, here's where we were and here's where we're going. So this is really, really interesting. And I love looking at this. This probably deserves more than a B, but I think it fit in with the idea of like a harbor in like an area. I think this might have been kind of what Liberty Street probably would have looked like in Disneyland if they had ended up building it.
Yeah, a ship next to a ship. I mean, I think Griffin's Wharf was supposed to be about the Boston Tea Party. And so you were supposed to go like ship to ship on this little pond. By the way, like when Disney used to build ships when they didn't have a body of water, they would just like turn the pavement blue or put it on like the really like the smallest little pond that you could possibly imagine. Kind of like Donald's boat ship that we talked about earlier.
Has a splash pad.
Yes, a splash pad. Except here, I think the ships would have been sort of docked, so you could never really tell that they weren't on water because a dock would sort of buttress up next to them.
Yeah, exactly. So this is fascinating. Matt, it's interesting that you say that because, they used to put these ships on like a tiny pond, concrete splash pad. You know where they else put ships?
No.
On top of volcanoes.
I never understood what a weenie was until the moment that I walked into Typhoon Lagoon and I subconsciously understood what Disney does for the first time in my life when I was about 10 in sort of drawing you in, setting a scene, almost filmically, right, drawing you into an environment with this giant structure that tells a story.
Yeah, it's interesting because, the icon of the park in Tokyo Disneyland is Mount Prometheus. We have almost the icon of Disneyland, which is the Matterhorn. But here we've got Mount Mayday in Typhoon Lagoon, and it's just this giant volcano. And on top of it is a ship called the Miss Tilly, and every so often a geyser of water will shoot out of one of its smokestacks. It landed here. Matt, this is the whole thing about Typhoon Lagoon. There's a whole backstory. In the 90s, it was always about writing 17 books of backstory, and then you just show this thing. So Mount Mayday is a dormant volcano which is located at the Pacific Island Lagoon of Placid Palms.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. But there was a massive hurricane that happened in 1955, the year that Disneyland opened, and Placid Palms was twisted and damaged to become a tropical oasis that would become known as Typhoon Lagoon. And Miss Tilly, the ship that was docked there, ended up on top of the volcano, kind of plugging it. So water kind of shoot. I don't know why this volcano shoots water instead of fire.
It's a geyser?
Sure,
it's a geyser volcano?
It's a shrimp boat, Matt. We know about shrimp boats.
It is a shrimping boat. Yeah, it looks exactly like shrimping boats that you would find, really, like where I mentioned, near Savannah, all the way down the coastline. These are now tour boats. Not so much shrimping boats anymore, but it is a very large fishing vessel. This is a prop boat, by the way. You can see the prop on the back end of that. And so you know this is a 20th century boat, a la the 1955 Storm. Yeah, Kevin, this is fantastic. There's 2 moments in my life where I knew that Disney was like my thing. And the first one was I rented a book at the library or borrowed a book at the library, and it was like OG Seven Seas Lagoon Resorts book. And I got this in like 1989. I was in the 3rd grade. And then a year later, my parents were taking us back to Disney. And at this point, like I was I was 10. So I'm like really excited. And my mom got me the Burn Bombs guide. And I had never been to a water park that looked anything like this. Is why me and Michael Eisner are like homeboys, because I had never seen anything that resembled this as a water park. I was obsessed with Typhoon Lagoon in the summer of 1991. Obsessed.
That's fascinating. Like, because I remember during our first year, we did a whole show on Disney water parks, and you were very excited. I was like, Matt's really excited about this.
I loved it. I was the perfect age.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I've been to plenty of water parks, but it's basically you walk up the scaffolding, the wooden scaffolding, and then there is a slide.
A slide.
And that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. But not this park, right? Because it has the equivalent of a railroad that takes you around the theme park. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Back then they had Shark's Reef where you could snorkel with the sharks, and I was just like, this is incredible. The Humunga Cowabunga slide, or whatever the slide was there on the side of Mount Mayday, I just thought was the most fascinating thing. And they just really thought this out. This was definitely of a time for Disney, very 1990s, very late 80s, in terms of the theming and the naming and that kind of stuff. But I gotta tell you, like, this ship, the geyser, the wave pool, that like changed my life.
I love how people get into Disney. Like, I got into Disney because I watched a video of Horizons.
Right.
And you got into Disney because of this.
I did.
This water park.
This was it. This was really it. I can honestly tell you that.
So let's go back over to Asia, where we're going to talk about the Siren's Revenge ship.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, Matt, do you know anything about the Siren's Revenge?
No, I don't know anything about this. Please educate me.
So it is basically like the sailing ship Columbia. That's all it is. It's a little bit of a replica, but it's a little bit different. They have some other statues on it. There's one statue of a guy who's being cut in half, which is by a cutlass, which is kind of amazing. And there's also stuff where there's like interactive portraits that actually sort of act a little bit, I believe, like Crush, when you have like story time with Crush, and you can talk to the portraits and they'll talk back to you or they'll scare you or whatever. So this was opened and you could like walk around and like go under and look at where all the crew is and the captain sits. Let's give some backstory. It opened in June 6, 2016. There's like all these activities, pirate experiences that they can have. There's 3 decks. And this ship was once commandeered by Joshua Gibbs and is now moored at Landlubber's Landing. But it has all this like really neat stuff on it. But it's very much docked in the thing. And I remember going on this and being like, I really, really love this. But it's not like it didn't feel that much different than the sailing ship Columbia. Okay,
probably it's like a mirror of that or an echo of that ship or whatever. Even though the sailing ship Columbia is very American, this one has it has a lot of ornate like features to it, right? That you would not find here so often, right? Like decorative, ornate features.
Well, because it's supposedly sort of like a British ship. So Captain Jack Sparrow comes into the legend because, of course, everything relates back to Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes,
exactly.
Of course.
But like, so the whole land is themed around this ship. There's like explorer canoes, like Davy Crockett explorer canoes, but they're just called explorer canoes. And there's caves that the pirates could go into. You can see like the captain's quarters on the ship itself.
Oh,
yeah, it's really, really neat. There's like, it's all like some pirate history, but basically you know that this is a pirate ship that the English were trying to capture, and the pirates like fought them off.
Okay.
And so one of the British, the guy that's cut in half by a cutlass, he's like very stately British sailor, and you see like his head is like cleaved in two, and he looks sad. It's just a statue of this. It's not gory or anything, but it's kind of amazing that this is like on the ship itself.
He looks like the T-1000 when he explodes, and his head is up here and his arm is like down there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a cutlass, Kevin, but it does cut. So that's...
And not just lasses.
Yeah.
Lads as well.
You said it's cutlass, but it's clearly cutting. It's a cutlass supreme.
Exactly. I want to take a brief mention here. We'll eventually talk about pirates again, but when I was doing the research for this, I found out that Hong Kong Disneyland was supposed to get a whole pirates area with that amazing ride that everybody says is next generation Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Shanghai stole it. When Shanghai Disneyland was being built, they're like, we want this more, so give us this instead. And that is why I believe that it follows that Hong Kong Disney got Mystic Manor instead. But they were supposed to get this whole area in Hong Kong, and they didn't. Shanghai got it instead.
Okay, that's interesting. I was wondering if it was like a budgetary concern at Hong Kong, and that's why they didn't do this.
Nope.
But okay, that makes sense.
It was because the mainland Chinese government didn't want Hong Kong to have it. That's it.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I assumed so.
Yeah.
But now we've said it overtly, and I'm very happy about this. So it is a neat idea. I like the idea as a whole here. I think that this, the ships and the design and the way that they've done Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai still feel very, what's the word, opaque for me. I don't fully, like Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, I feel like I have a good grasp of, but those two parks in China, like I still don't, in my mind, like feel like I know what it feels like to be there.
Yeah, and I because I still haven't been to Shanghai, I totally get what you mean. We love to talk on the show about the parks that we haven't been to, all the parks around the world. We like to make it a very inclusively Disney show, but there are some places that we still haven't been. Like, have you ever been to Aulani?
I have not. I've never been to Aulani. I'm going to. I plan to go, but I have not been.
Yeah, it's great. So, like, I love that we get to talk about the stuff. But, yeah, sometimes we're, like, talking about the stuff sort of in the dark, where we want to include it and we want to talk about how cool it is because we've seen pictures and heard reports about it, but we still haven't seen it. So I've been to Hong Kong, and I really, really loved that park. It's a very small park. It's a very cozy park. And when you go there, it very much feels like, to me at least, what Disneyland was in the first opening years.
Okay.
So you can go there and because it's a new park, but it has all this like classic stuff as well. So I love that stuff. But Matt, let's talk about Disneyland opening years.
Oh, I love classic Disneyland. We've actually brought this up in another show that we're going to release during our hiatus, the inter-season period between seasons 8 and 9. So I'm not going to go too far into it, but number 5 is the Sailing Ship Columbia, Kevin. And this is not a pirate ship. This opened in 1958 in the rivers of America. It's a full-scale replica of the, please pronounce it for me, the Columbia
Rediviva.
It's the first American ship to navigate the globe. That's basically what I've always known it as. It's been in the park forever, and often it's docked, but occasionally you can take that 12-minute ride around the rivers of America at Disneyland. It runs like a few... Do they run it? I'm trying to think, yeah, they run it at the same time as the Mark Twain, so it runs kind of on a different schedule so that they never interrupt each other.
Yeah, as you will hear in the later show, I have never ridden this. I've only explored it in dock, and I've seen it at Fantasmic, which is great. And in Fantasmic, it is treated like a pirate ship, which is why I think a lot of people think it's a pirate ship.
Yes, absolutely. People often think it is, and some people only know it as the Fantasmic ship because that's the only way it's treated, but it's really supposed to show you what this ship was like. And it's literally a full-scale replica. That means that they like took thought and consideration to how this was supposed to look, what the quarters were supposed to look like for the crewmates and all this different stuff. Much like the Disneyland Railroad is a scaled version of, older rail cars.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it's a little bit smaller. Like, you go there and you're like, I don't think pirates could actually sleep in those bunks. But it's because it's a scale model. It's not supposed to be like this giant ship. But it is amazing to go on. And I'm so jealous that you've actually ridden on it.
I know, I feel bad. My wife totally didn't want to ride it either. She was like, hi, Dad. And I was like, nope, it must be done. I must do this. And by the way, it took me like 10 years to get on Casey Jr. Circus Train too. I don't know why. Every time I go to Disneyland, there's like a thing I haven't done that I like have to do. On one of those trips, it was definitely the Columbia.
Oh, I love the Columbia. I love Casey Jr. Circus Train. But Matt, let's talk about this ship that I don't think either of us have been on. This is one of my favorite things in Disney history. It's amazing. This is the Eastern Winds Chinese junk ship that was at the Polynesian Village Resort.
What does Chinese junk mean? This is like world market imports?
Yeah, so a junk ship it's like a classic tall ship. So a Chinese junk is a type of Chinese sailing ship.
Oh.
It has a rudder. It has all these like it's basically like a pirate ship, but or a big sailing ship, a tall ship. But it has this very unique sort of sails that look like leaves almost.
Yes, this looks like something you would almost see at Animal Kingdom.
Right. And it was part of the Age of Exploration. They were very lightweight. They had a rudder. It was the first type of ship to have a rudder mounted on its stern for steering. So they were very easy to sail around the world, and they were a big part of like the Age of Exploration. Travels in China. So at the Polynesian Village Resort, which by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Polynesia is not near China at all. It's very interesting.
It is in my mind.
Yeah.
It's in the same kind of area because it's not in North America. So it's probably close together.
Yeah, America consists of 3 countries, Canada, U.S., and Mexico, and that's it. I discovered this ad, Matt.
Oh my God, this is the great. Can you please read this? Because I died. I fell out of my chair.
This is hilarious. Okay, so it has a picture of this Chinese junk. By the way, it was docked at the Polynesian Village Resort, and you could ride it. An Oriental Adventure. All right, let's just put that out there. That's what it's called.
That was the title in bold letters.
Bold letters, big bold letters in the quote unquote Hong Kong lettering style. There's a picture of the boat, ship, and it says, enjoy cocktails in an authentic Oriental atmosphere aboard Walt Disney World's Eastern Winds junk. All right, let me read this entire ad.
This is great.
Relax on your own, quote, Oriental adventure, unquote, aboard the Eastern Winds, an authentic 65-foot Chinese junk imported from Hong Kong, departing the Polynesian Village Marina 3 times every evening. Each cruise, approximately an hour and a half, is a separate adventure in itself, with complimentary cocktails and exciting entertainment. Glimpse our water ski show at 6, slide by Serpents of the Deep in our electrical water pageant at 8:30, or thrill to the Fantasy in the Sky fireworks at 10, all from the deck of our most unique floating lounge. It's a front row seat to adventures. And so you can chart your Oriental Odyssey tonight. Couples, $8, singles $4, or the entire family $10.
Singles cruise. It's a singles. Oh wait, no, couples can be there too. It's an Oriental Odyssey. I'll just leave that there. Also, Kevin, this is like the Pirate and Princess cruises before that was like a thing. This reminds me so much of like Walt Disney Card Walker. Like, let's bring in a boat from Hong Kong and like have people sail around on it with Disney characters and Captain Hook. This is crazy.
Sometimes you would find Captain Hook, Peter Pan, and Smee aboard, and they would have like a whole show. So it reminds you of Disney, Walt Disney and Card Walker. This reminds me of the Big Red Boat.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Where they would have like, you'd get off on this island and then Captain Hook would just be there. This is so weird. I also want to point out that the word Oriental, here means a place of the Orient, and Occidental, like in the East. Occidental means the West. So you could say Oriental as long as you mean it to be like an area of the world or a rug, as long as you're not talking about people.
Not a slur.
It's not a slur. It's a description. So it's so fascinating that it like ran for so long here. This is a big part of the Polynesian Village Resort, and then it just sort of went away.
It's just sitting there. It's just, by the way, it's like anchored in one of these pictures, but there's like no way to get to it.
Yeah,
it looks like something like Discovery Island-ish.
Yeah,
right. Like, hey, there's that thing over there that people used to go to, but you can't go anymore. And maybe there's some snakes in some jars on there.
Yeah, I'm sure like it's been taken over by wildlife. And I'm going to find out, man.
This is gone. This is totally gone.
It's gone. It ran from 1971 to 1978. It only took two people to operate it, like a pilot and a deckhand. So this is kind of amazing. It was gigantic. It was eventually retired, and it was, I think, this is very weird. The legend was that it was sold to Joe Namath of the Jets.
The New York Jets. The Colonial Pin guy or whatever he sells.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Joe Namath?
Let me see if, because that was the legend. It was built in Hong Kong in 1964, purchased by a Texas oil baron. For a little while, Joe Namath did own it, but he owned it before Disney got to it.
Oh my Lord. What was he doing with this ship?
I don't know. It's so weird. But it was being used for pleasure cruises in St. Thomas and the U.S. Virgin Islands for a while after it was at Disney. And now we don't really know where it is. It's bizarre.
Joe Namath can help you with your Medicare coverage plan. Old Broadway Joe.
Broadway Joe, guys.
God, that's crazy.
He owned the ship and then Disney got it. That's just amazing. Anyway, I am baffled. I love that this existed. I really wish I could go on it. The whole concept of, Americans' idea of Polynesian is connected to actual Polynesia, Asia, Africa, and then like other parts. Sometimes there's even like Mexico. I don't even know why.
This is wild. This is crazy. Polynesia just cracks me up so much. Or the Oriental Odyssey.
Oh gosh, there's going to be pictures on the Blue Sky. You guys, you're going to love it. But Matt, let's go to something that I think everybody here has seen: the Wicked Wench in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
The Wicked Wench of the East. I don't know anything about this.
You've seen it, though. It's a ship. It's when you turn that corner in Disneyland. This is the coolest reveal. You turn that corner, and like the whole ship is huge.
Oh, this is on the ride.
This is on the ride, buddy.
I'm losing my mind.
There.
I thought this was like another thing. Another boat that you could get on. I'm so sorry. Yes, it's on the ride. This is awesome, actually. It's well lit. It looks like there's like it looks like there's flame-filled lanterns all over the ship, and the red hues give it a sort of sinister nature, the sort of red being evil in the sort of lore of art. And yeah, this is great.
This is like a Pirates of the Caribbean thing, and he's like, "Get us, Captain Jack Sparrow, you landlubbers!" And then he like there's cannon shooting from there and from the land. It's really really neat. I think this is before. I don't think this is like Davy Jones with like the sort of kraken face.
Yes,
this is like actual pirates, and so they before even the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, this was here, and they were just shooting at you, and it had a whole different storyline.
They're actually shooting. So there's a fort on your right side after you go down the hill into the pirate lair, and the fort and the ship are shooting at one another.
Right, you're just in the crossfire.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so sometimes you get splashed down there because a round will hit the water or whatever. But yeah, this is all my early memories involve this ship because it's always on your left side as you go through the Magic Kingdom version, and it looks humongous.
I wrote this with a guy named Will once, and it said when he says "fire at will," I'm like, "Duck."
Dad jokes.
Oh, so many dad jokes. But I love this. So you have that giant reveal at the Disneyland one. At the Walt Disney World one, Magic Kingdom, it's not as big like a castle style reveal, but it's still pretty cool. You go through that tunnel, and there it is. I really like it, but it's weird that a ride itself would have a weenie, especially if it's sort of like inside. But this is very much that. It's the thing that you sort of remember, unless you're Matt and you don't know what we're talking about.
I don't even know where am I right now. Can I be honest? I was adding an honorable mention when you started reading it, and then I got lost. I had to scroll up through the notes, and I was like, where are we?
What are we talking about?
That's my fault. Yes, I love this ship. I'm so dumb. The cannons, I love how the cannons, there's no portholes on these ships, right? Because they were wooden. And so the cannons like veer through these sort of wooden boxes on the side. It's a really smart looking ship. It's really well, crafted looking. It looks of its time.
When I think of the Pequod in Moby Dick, I think of this ship and feeling like this with like the cannons and everything. I just love looking at it. I want to look at it longer. Like I sometimes wish that the boats would stop right there so I could just stare at the ship for a little longer. It's so great. But Matt, so let's get to this one.
The reason why we did this show.
So I wrote to Matt. I was very excited. I had found out about a piece of DCA 1.0 lore, and I have this, I don't know if it's ironic or sarcastic obsession with early DCA because it is so weird and so strange. And I had never heard of this, so I did a little research on it. I was like, we have to do a show about this particular thing. And Matt said, why don't we do just a whole ship show? I was like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. And this is the SS Rustworthy.
Oh, Matt. Buddy, this is awesome. I'm so glad you added this here too, because this is one of those things that like I forget over time that these kind of things exist. And this is more like placemaking stuff in an era when placemaking was not good at Disney's California Adventure.
No, and before you get to thinking, hey guys, you're going to tell us this is one of those good things. We're not. This is so as you're walking through the Paradise Pier area, on one side of the walkway is half a ship, and on the other side of the walkway is the rest of the ship. Why is it cut in half? No one knows. It is a play area. So the ship, the name of the ship is the SS Trustworthy, okay? But the T has fallen off because of years of disrepair. So now it's the Rustworthy. Now, Matt, I want to bring up something. When the Haunted Mansion was first being conceived of and originally being built, Walt Disney was looking at the plans and said, hey, I don't like the look of this. It looks shabby. It looks run down. That is not what I want Disneyland to be associated with. But now all these years later,
Galaxy's Edge.
All these years later, we have the SS Rustworthy, which intentionally looks run down, rusty, disgusting. When I say disgusting, I literally mean that. There is a dinghy tied to it with these stationary seagulls whose like wings go around and around. There's statues, and there's bird poop in the dinghy. Like, that is placemaking, DC 101.
It is placemaking. It's just not good placemaking. It's just really bad. Okay, this reminds me of a barge. It feels very Long Beach-ish because the Rustworthy itself is metal and it's riveted steel. And so it's a very interesting looking, ship. It's definitely like you feel like it's a modern port. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. But there's nothing worthy really about this design.
So it was sponsored by McDonald's, which was right nearby. So you saw like the McDonald's arches all over this ship, and then it would remind you that Burger Invasion is right next door, so we can go eat there, or at Pizza Mao Mao. over there. It had these lifesavers that say PPFD, Paradise Pier Fire Department, but it surrounded the McDonald's arches, which don't fit in. It's a splash pad. It's a play area.
It's everything. It's literally everything. Hey, can I say this quickly? We did that McDonald Land show, and we talked about unique McDonald's locations. If this was one of those, then that would be awesome. But it's in, Disney's California Adventure. It's supposed to be like your $100 a day experience. Not exactly the same experience that you would get on a roadside McDonald's in Long Beach.
No, this is it's so bad. It's rusty. So, DCA opened. One of the big complaints is that there's not enough for kids to do. And but if kids really want to play, if kids really want to have a good Disney experience, just throw them on the SS Rustworthy. So great. McDonald's stopped being a sponsor in 2008, so all the logos came off the Burger Invasion Eatery. It was just, it just sat there and literally rusted. And so this is very funny to me, Matt. In 2009, when they said, "Hey, we're gonna change DCA, we're gonna make it great," they take away the smaller stern portion, and that's demolished, and the rest of it just stays there. So people who didn't know this was in two parts for a while, like at the beginning, kind of just saw like this one half of a ship and had no idea. And when you were on the ground level, you had no idea that this was the same ship. You were just like, okay, there's something over here and something over here. Why it was split in half, nobody knows. It is ridiculous. And so the main portion eventually goes away in September 2010. This is the weirdest thing of DCA. Probably not the weirdest.
It's not the weirdest.
It's one of them.
It's not the weirdest.
It ran aground in Paradise Pier and just stayed there. And that's kind of how I think about DCA 1.0. It ran aground.
It ran aground over a parking lot and is now still there. No, DCA 2.0 is one of the greatest things ever.
Oh, yeah.
By the way,
we're not going to talk about 3.0. But, in this case, they literally paved a parking lot and put up Paradise. Oh, my God.
Paradise Pier.
Paradise Pier.
Oh, you can't make it up.
Oh,
you can't
boy.
make it up. The lifesavers with the McDonald's logo. I can't even. Look, there was a floating McDonald's river paddle boat in St. Louis. And it had stuff like this, and it was cool.
And this is not cool. I literally, when I saw the dinghy that had the bird poop on it, I was like, what were you thinking? Oh, they're so strange. But Matt, so when I came up with this, I was like, hey, the SS Rustworthy, let's do a show. Let's expand it. I was like, all right. And then Matt, I was like, so what do you think we should put on here, Matt? And Matt's very first impulse was our number one.
Thank you, Kevin. Number one on this list, we've already mentioned it. It currently exists in a form in Disneyland Paris. It is the Chicken of the Sea Pirate Ship Restaurant, a.k.a. Captain Hook's Galley, 1955 Fantasyland, Disneyland. One of the greatest ships in Disney history for so many reasons, some good and some bad.
It is the Chicken of the Sea, but because they, Starkist, it's Starkist, right? Starkist was a sponsor, and they had tuna in cans, and they called it the Chicken of the Sea. I remember when Jessica Simpson.
Yes. She didn't know if it was chicken.
She was like, what is this that I'm eating? I love that phrasing, by the way. And she's like, it says Chicken of the Sea, so is it chicken or is it tuna? And I was like, that's the funniest thing ever.
It's great. It's so good. This is someone who definitely grew up in Tennessee or something.
Yeah, no idea what tuna is. But this is a ship that, everything was tuna, Matt.
To a fault, right? This is like tuna hamburgers. Was it packed like a patty? Or was it tuna in ground beef? How gross exactly was this on the scale of grossness?
I've been to places where they have fish burgers, they'll have salmon burgers. I don't know, it's basically shaped. It's like a fillet of fish, but not breaded. I guess. But they also had tuna sandwiches. So you had tuna sandwiches, tuna salad, tuna burgers. And Kevin, do you like tuna in your pot pie? I sure don't. I love a chicken pot pie. Sometimes I love a beef pot pie. Once in a while, I even have a pork pot pie. I would never in my whole life eat a tuna pot pie.
This is just terrible. Let's talk about the good parts of this. This was actually a park landmark / icon for years. When this park opens, you have Sleeping Beauty Castle. And what else did you have that was quote unquote tall? Only this ship.
Yeah, a tall ship.
That's exactly right. And it was in Fantasyland, so you had this sort of tucked behind. So today this would be where Dumbo's flying elephants are. Okay, so if you think about where like Storybook Land Canal Boats is, you can kind of see, Monstro's mouth. And if you looked past that on your boat, you would have seen the pirate ship. So it's in the back of sort of the Fantasyland sort of courtyard there. And that's where you could find it. It originally opened just as this ship restaurant. And if you wanted to eat here, you went inside the hull, ordered your food, and went back out to the Fantasyland courtyard and ate at a picnic table.
This is sort of what happened with the Tiki Room when they had that restaurant. You would go in and get your food, Plaza Restaurant. You go in and get your food and then bring it back outside.
Yes, that's exactly what this is designed. And it's California, so the weather's usually pleasant, et cetera, et cetera. Kevin, you mentioned the Tiki Room. This is the original Tiki Room because this was a restaurant with a parrot, dude. It had a real live parrot inside the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship. As you ordered your food, it would talk to you in line.
His name was Paco.
Of course it was.
He hung out in his little birdhouse and talked to guests. Matt, all of this makes total sense.
I love this. So everybody's like, why would Walt Disney ever want a restaurant with birds? They already had one.
They had one, guys. They had it. And maybe this is where Walt was like skeptical of the Tiki restaurant because when he talked to his Imagineers, he's like, we can't have this. The birds are going to poop in the food. And maybe that was the worry after Paco was here. I don't know.
Like Paco saved us from ourselves, okay? It's basically what Paco did. So Paco, I read something on the D23 blog, and it was like a cast member who worked in this restaurant for like, ever. I think it was a restaurant for like 20 years. At some point, Starkist falls off as a sponsor, but they keep operating it. And she was like, we loved Paco, and we love this restaurant, and I have one of Paco's feathers at my house.
That's awesome and creepy.
I know, kind of weird, but also great. And so what's cool about this is we talked about it being a landmark. They doubled down. They were like, okay, this is such a popular thing. People took their pictures next to it. Kids could get on the ship and like turn the steering wheel and all the different stuff. And so this became a major force within Fantasyland. So much so that within like 3 or 4 years of the park opening, they added beyond the little pond that the Chicken of the Sea restaurant was on, a Pirate's Cove and Skull Rock, Kevin.
Oh man, I love that they added this, because as they had to race to get Disneyland open in 1955. We've said it before, but when you think, oh well, Disneyland opened in a year, why can't they fast track these other things? A lot of Disneyland was not completely ready in a year, and they had to add stuff like after it opened, and they did it so right here with the Skull Rock and the waterfalls and all that stuff. It was so amazing.
Not only was Skull Rock like a really interesting landmark that was, an addendum to the pirate ship, it also had Skull Rock Cove where you ate your lunch. So this is very like Tahitian terrace-y, except it's in like the pirate vernacular.
So, Matt, from what I understand, this ship at one point actually flew like Peter Pan's ship.
Oh, yeah, I read this on Yesterland. Okay, so like when they were building the ship, they had to build it in like a separate area because it was too big to build where it eventually was located. And so when they're building the theme park, they had to pick it up by crane and fly it over the park.
Yes!
And into Fantasyland.
So for a little while, this was the ship that flew, guys.
Yes, it was. It wasn't just Peter Pan's flight. You could see this flying if you were just a lucky construction worker in late 1954, early 1955. So it flew into Fantasyland. Like I said, it used to sit on a really small pond. This is how I think they were going to do the Griffin's Wharf ships.
Okay. That makes sense.
Where it was just like a really small controlled body. I wonder if the water would have even touched the ship. The irony here is that, this wasn't really a water ship, and water rot is what ruined the ship itself. They ended up using pieces of this ship in other Peter Pan attractions, which is kind of cool.
This lasted from 55 to 82. The sponsorship from Chicken of the Sea ended in 1969. I don't know why I find it so funny that it's the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship. I think it's hilarious.
I know.
But the cool thing is that you could, when it was operating, the Skyliner went right over this.
Yes, it did. You could see down into the ship. And you know how people complain about sightlines? We had the worst sightlines when I was a kid because the Skyway, you could see on top of every building in Fantasyland at Walt Disney World. And they were just flat tops. And, sometimes there was like air conditioning steam coming off them or something. It was just, that's how it was back then. And the Skyway was really, really cool. That became kind of the tallest moment, your aerial view of your Disney day. I do, you love the Skyliner and so do I. But like including that within your park, I know that they're not deemed safe anymore, but those Skyway buckets were so fun.
It was so close that you could almost think that you could kick the mast.
Oh, yes. Don't jump down on the ship, boys and girls.
Yeah, please don't, because you'll break the ship and yourself. Yeah. So one of the cool things is that we still have so many of these ships around Walt. You look at them, you think about the deep history of these sailing ships and these pirate ships. And deep into our past. And the cool thing is that even if you can't ride them, even if you can't go on them, seeing them as placemaking brings you to a completely different place in your past, in this imagined fantasy of riding on pirate ships. And, that's sort of what makes Disney parks ship shape.
Well, Kevin, this has been a ton of fun. You're about to embark on a very fun adventure today, of which I can't tell you, relating back to your Christmas present. So it's kind of fitting here that we did a show about voyaging ships, whether they took you somewhere or not. I can tell you that in the honorable mentions section of this show, we have a very fantastic ship that could only be found by traveling via ship. So in the early days of Disney's Castaway Cay, Kevin, I never saw this, a caveat here. I never saw this, but due to the popularity of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, a pirate ship was added to the lagoon inside Castaway Cay's harbor.
This is astounding. So Matt sent put a picture in the show notes of the Flying Dutchman, the ship prop that was used for the filming of Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And it's just in the harbor, and it's juxtaposed right next to a big old Disney ship. I love the Disney Cruise Line, a huge cruise ship. This is a lot like the Tokyo waterfront, Matt. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that. It's exactly like the New York area of Tokyo Disney's waterfront area there. This is so cool. Now, the ships didn't sit next to each other because that would be unsafe. So on the other side of the sort of protective rock wall that protects Castaway Cay was this ship. So this is, by the way, today where this ship sits is where you take the banana boat cruise when you're on Castaway Cay. That was the cruise where I had to save the old Filipino man from falling off the side, and I saved his life because he was definitely not going to be able to hang on. But back in the day, you couldn't do that because there was a giant Flying Dutchman sitting there.
Matt, is this where the Drowning Mickey is?
No. Drowning Mickey is a little bit further toward the island. I've seen the Drowning Mickey. I just need you to know. I love the Drowning Mickey so much. It's the greatest thing we've ever done on this show.
It's so good. You were so adamant about putting that in and talking about Drowning Mickey. It's so funny.
It's great. I've got another one for you here, too. This is the one I was working on when we were doing the Pirates of the Caribbean ship. And so I apologize for that. But this was, I knew this existed in my head. All right. And as we were doing the show, I was like, I know this was here. And I know Kevin will love this. In the early days of Discovery Island, At Walt Disney World in Bay Lake, there was a masted ship that sat on the beachfront, basically, of the island. Now, here's what's interesting. In the pictures, there's people on this ship. I have no idea if this was something you could get on or not, but it appears it was. This was a replica of the Walrus, the ship of Captain Flint in the Treasure of Matacumbe. What is that?
I don't know. Wait, treasure. Hold on. Matacumbe. Treasure of Matacumbe. What? Oh my God, Matt. Oh my God.
Was this a live action?
It's a live action Disney film from 1976. It was produced by Bill Anderson and Ron Miller.
Oh my God.
Peter
This is
Ustinov was in
perfect.
it, Matt.
This is perfect. In 1869 Kentucky, a young boy and his friends set out to find a treasure chest hidden by his late father in the Florida Everglades during the Civil War. Oh my God, this is perfect. Treasure of Matacumbe in brilliant Technicolor. This made my life. I knew this ship existed. There's a remnant of this ship that still exists off Discovery Island.
Really? It's still
Yes.
there. Oh,
There's something
boy.
like the mast is still there. A piece of the ship and a piece of the dock are still there that you can see off Discovery Island. The next time you go to Wilderness Lodge or Fort Wilderness, please pay close attention to Discovery Island as you pass it.
You know, this is a very 80s thing to do with Disney, is to make a replica of something, of a, frankly, completely obscure 70s, live action film. This would be like looking, going to Autopia and seeing a replica of the Gnome Mobile.
Yes,
This is amazing. That darn cat.
It would be even more obscure than that, because even those are like ironically kind of funny. Does anyone know the Treasure of Matacumbe? Someone who listened to the show saw the Treasure of Matacumbe when they were a kid, guaranteed.
And they're listening to the show and they're like, how come they've never mentioned the walrus? How come they've never brought this up? I am so happy this exists. We're going to put a poster of the Treasure of Matacumbe on our Blue Sky. This is one of the final... Oh, Matt!
What?
The reason why it's there, the final scene at the beach shipwreck was filmed at Discovery Island, and then they just left it there.
My God, that's amazing. I had no... See, this is old Disney stuff that you only find out when you do a random show about ships that maybe no one cares about. It doesn't matter, because this just made... I'm going to bring this up in like 5 years.
Yeah.
The Treasure of Matacumbe.
I'm just going to drop it into conversation. Next time because I've been talking about, I think I've mentioned Gnome Mobile in every single episode this season.
Yes.
The Treasure of Matacumbe is going to be the new Gnome Mobile.
Oh my God. Treasure of Matacumbe. It's a Florida story, so that's kind of cool.
It makes total sense that it would be at Discovery Island.
Why not?
And just starring just a lot of people. It's Johnny Doran, Young Davy.
Okay, now I know why there's people on this ship. You couldn't get on this ship. This must be a shot from the film.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because it's an old ship off the... Okay, they're making it look like you're in the Everglades and this is all happening.
Captain Flint is going to chase those people off the ship. Captain Flint, let's see who Captain Flint was played by. Matt, I wonder if...
I got to dig through my notes, because right now I have Joe Namath selling Medicare coverage. Whoever looks through my internet history right now is going to be like, what? Griffin's Wharf, Joe Namath, and the Treasure of Matacumbe.
This is just so strange. There's a Peter Ustinov plays Dr. Ewing Snodgrass. Everything about this is the best. This is our entire show now is going to be about the Treasure of Matacumbe. We're not talking about anything else from now on.
No, we're going to do a whole show on the Treasure of Matacumbe. I never even heard of this. That's the best part.
They put out so many live action films in the 70s, 60s and 70s that it was every single week they would come out. And they were very long, and I don't know why. Oh my God.
Was this made for TV, or was this a theatrical release?
Well, there is a theatrical. No, it was a theatrical release.
Oh my God. Dr. Ewing T. Snodgrass. Oh, and Vic Morrow as Spangler.
Oh God. Oh, I wonder if he's related to
Egon Spangler.
Egon Spangler from
Same time period. I mean, you never know. Oh my God.
It was
this
a
is
moderate success, Matt.
Oh, somebody saw this. I know somebody saw this. It's going to be like our friend Wesley, who listens to the show or something. He definitely watched Treasure of Matacum.
Like this movie inspired somebody to like do art or something.
Oh my God. This may have inspired like future producers of the Pirates of the Caribbean Disney versions with Jerry Bruckheimer.
Like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do.
You know what we should do? We should update that Pirates of Matacum. Two guys drinking in like North Hollywood one night.
You know that film that was a moderate success in 1976? I think that there's something there.
Was it successful? Yeah, it was a moderate success.
A moderate success, and now it's available on Disney Plus, guys. So go watch after you finish doing this. After you finish donating to us in the show from the show notes, if you and leaving your 5-star review, go watch The Treasure of Matacum and tell us everything about it.
I want to watch it now because I know it was filmed on Discovery Island.
It's so thrilling that was, and other places, but yeah, definitely that one. Oh boy, Matt, what a great time! So I want to. Do we have any?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do we have any 5-star reviews? Let's see. Oh yeah, we do. So we have a couple 5-star reviews I wanted to read. Here's one from December 27th from Boston Celts. Excellent podcast. Don't let the weird show name deter you from listening because quite simply, this is the best Disney podcast out there. Super informative but never dry. Matt and Kevin are witty, entertaining, and most importantly, fun. Their love and knowledge of all things Disney and pop culture really shines through in every episode. I'm having a blast going through the back catalog at work. That's great.
That's so nice. Thank you so much for listening back on those old shows where Kevin recorded in his AirPods.
I did. Yeah, I'm so sorry about the sound of those, but one time I had to record in a car. Like I had to borrow a friend's car because I couldn't use the basement I was usually in.
This is amazing. I love this story.
And then January 7th, 2025, Gail Wins won. The title of the comment is Great Show. The content of the comment is Great Show! Exclamation.
Thank you. Hey, every one of those 5-star reviews, I don't care if it just says exclamation points.
Yeah, really don't care.
Every one of those counts toward our total. So thank you so much for doing that. I like this one too. December 30th, somebody was bored over the Christmas holiday and decided to leave a 5-star review. Thank you for doing that. Run.dive.jwr. Positive, fun, and informative. That's what we like to be.
Yes.
That's so cool. Like if we were going to tell people what we were, it would be that. It's 5 stars and it says, what more can I ask for? These guys are great and they go far deeper than many podcasts yet manage not to get mired in the details. Yeah.
I think that, we talk about medium and deep dives. We do that, but I think that we don't we don't do that thing where, hey, this one chord in this ride was sourced from here. We don't generally do that. We like to give an overview, a little bit of a deeper dive to make you so excited about it.
And then talk about the Treasure of Matacum.
The Treasure of Matacum is our only topic from now on.
The walrus.
We're the walrus.
I am the walrus.
Goo goo goo, Matt.
So Kevin, before we go, I did want to remind people that our Patreon has launched. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, and I'm so excited about this. This is something that we didn't know we were going to do, and we decided to get together and do it. And what it really does is it gives people who listen to the 3028 more access to the show and really more shows.
Yeah, there's going to be more shows. There's secret shows, week early shows. There's that Discord where everyone's talking in the TuneIn Lounge. It's so much fun, and you get so much more out of the 3028 if you do the Patreon. So we have so many people already signed up and hanging out with us and listening to new shows. So thank you so much for doing that. And if you haven't yet, now's the greatest time to do it.
Yeah, one thing that I want to note quickly is that you get to vote on shows. Which show do you want us to do? And sometimes we have a number of shows in the queue, and we're determining which one are we going to do, which one should we edit first, which one do people want to hear, and so we'll put that out to you, and you can help us decide. And you may have a hand in future shows as well. So please, thanks so much. Please be a part of our 3028 Patreon. It's a new venture for us. We felt something should be built, some kind of entertainment enterprise. So thanks again for doing that, and you can find the links in the show notes for that.
Anyway, so thank
Thanks
you for the
for the
5
reviews.
Thanks so much for the reviews. That was so amazing. From all of us here at the 3028 to all of you out there, thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.
And we'll see you real coom.
See you real Matacoon. Oh, I didn't know.
I'm dying. I'm dying over the treasure of Matacoom. I had no idea. I copied and pasted the description and didn't read it until the show. So I didn't even know that the treasure of Matacoom was going to be a thing until I started reading it.
Oh, Matt, this is the best thing. The treasure of Matacoon.
Oh my God.
Why
Oh,
is this
Spangler.
happening? Spangler.
I thought Paco was going to steal this show. I did not know Discovery Island was going to take over.
I love our honorable mention happens to be like the best of them.
I
It's
didn't
just
know.
crazy.
Hey, that's like the top 10 with Letterman. The number one was never the funniest.
Yeah, exactly. That was
Number
always
one
a
is where
throwaway.
you put your credible thing. Right?
Right. Yeah, chickens
Or Drowning Mickey.
drowning Mickey.
You were trying to find a way to use ship shake.
You have
the
no
entire
idea.
show.
It was like I was hurting myself doing it.